ventured to travel that way. That was a direct influence from that demonic spirit. He had influenced the mindsets of the people and behavior of the people in that area where they would avoid that journey or that pathway. And I want you to look at your life and say, how much of my life is a result of influence from the satanic realm? Is there some place in school you do not travel because some bully is there to pick on you? Is there some places that you avoid because there is some danger there? That's all an influence of the fallen nature of Satan that he has imposed in your life that now prevents you from doing certain things. Where is your life influenced by Satan? I do not reveal these things in my life because of some satanic influence, because I know that it is not exactly right. See, that's an influence by the devil. He's now controlling your behavior. I won't reveal some things about my life because of who I profess to be. Because I know if people hear it, they will have questions about my actions. See, that is an influence from the devil that is now controlling your life. He's controlling your behavior. And that's what we have to understand about the enemy is he brings influence into our lives that influences our behavior. Scripture says that this is the verdict. Light has come into the world. And the world hates the light because it loves darkness. Therefore, it will not move toward the light because it does not want to reveal that its deeds are dark. See, when you are not being influenced by the fallen nature, you have no secrets. You have privacy, but you have no secrets. In other words, you are not offended by people knowing what you do and do not do. You may not want everybody to know what you do or do not do, but if push came to shove and your stuff had to be laid out in the open, you would not be ashamed. See, that is that influence of the human nature that Satan controls to bring about behavior in our lives. And regardless of how big or small it may seem, it is a place, it is a stronghold where the enemy can set up shop at. If you look at our country, you know our countries, because of their desires to have influence in these different areas because of their resources, they set up what they call, I'm going to call it post because I don't know the exact word, but they have a presence there. And the purpose of that presence is to kind of look out for their desires, look out for the things that they are interested in. Satan is the same way. You were created in God's image, but you were sold into slavery to him. And he has a vested interest in you. And that vested interest is your soul. He wants to take your soul and establish it in his kingdom. So you have to understand these things, because wherever he can find a place to influence in your life, he has now set up his presence. And it's through his presence in this place in your life, he can now bring on influence in your behavior to bring about a result that's going to help accomplish his goal. And as we look at this demon-possessed man, he's there for a reason. He has been possessed for a reason. It is through this man that Satan has been able to help control the environment and the mindsets of the people that live in the area. He has a presence there. So much so, he set his presence up as this powerful force that's invincible. that man has tried all he can to subdue him, but to no avail. Know any people in your world like that? It looks like no matter how the system tries to subdue them, they just continue to wreak havoc. You have any kids like that at school? No matter how the system seems to try to subdue them, they seem to come back stronger and stronger. When they start to influence the environment, they influence your classroom. They influence whether teaching is going on, or what's the other word? Trying to keep control. What's actually going on? What's controlling your environment? At home, what's really controlling your home environment? Does the enemy have an influence in your home, whereas a lot of the attention is given to Satan and the fallen nature? Do you spend more time trying to make people do what's right? See, that's an influence of the fallen nature where Satan is developing a stronghold. Is there rebellion against doing what is right in your home? Is there rebellion against it? See, that's the influence that the enemy is setting up in your presence, where he has a presence to bring about influence in your family. See, that's what this demonic spirit represents. A presence where he controls the environment, or he has a major role in the environment that's going on. And as we saw last week down in verse 5, it says that he was off, verse 4 says, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in his tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. See, this crying out is the man, he's in torment. The demonic spirits is tormenting his mind, where he's trying to hurt himself. We know people like that, don't we? They cut themselves, they do things to harm themselves. And you have to understand that that's a demonic influence in their life that now has them trying to destroy themselves. And a lot of times, in their mind, they're just trying to be free from that torment. They're thinking that if I can do this, this will free me from this torment that's going on internally. And what they're actually doing is crying out for help. See, the man was in the cave, but he was crying out for help. And man had tried his best to help him, but to no avail. And so he was left helpless and hopeless. Any of you all feeling hopeless in your situation? See, if so, you have to understand the enemy has an influence in your life that you need to bring under control, because he's trying to destroy you. We're going to pick up today in verse 6, because we're talking about demonic spirits. And it reads, when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him. And he cried out with a loud voice and said, what have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you by God that you do not torment me. For he said to him, come out of the man, unclean spirit. Then he asked him, what is your name? And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. Also, he begged him earnestly that he would not send them out of the country. Now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountains. So all the demons begged him, saying, send us into the swine, that we may enter them. And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the swine. It says there was about 2,000. And the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned in the sea. So those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and in the country, and they went out to see what it was that had happened. Then they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion, sitting and clothed in his right mind. And they were afraid, and those who saw it told them how it happened to him who had been demon-possessed, and about the swine. Then they began to plead with him to depart from their region. And when he got into the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you, and how he has compassion on you." And he departed and began to proclaim in the Decapolis all that Jesus has done for him, and all marveled. We're going to look at verses 6 through 13 today as we talk about our topic, demonic spirits. And when we look at verse 6, we're told that the demonic man came and bowed down in reverence to Jesus. Now, understand this, he usually ran out. When he came out of the cave, when he saw people coming, he usually came out in a anger, in a roar to destroy. But see, something has changed. He now comes out to worship Jesus. See, you have to understand, we talk about kingdom authority, right? We understand that the kingdom of God is not about words nor deeds, but it's about power. And our society has come to a place where they're tired of a lot of church talk. They're tired of a lot of religious placebos that you just threw out there, antidotes. They know that we serve a true and living God that's a loving God, that is forgiving God, but it's a God with all power. And they know that if we are his servants, we're supposed to be operating in that power. That's what we've been learning here, is how to walk in kingdom authority. And we understand that God describes this authority as a bright light that shines in darkness. And that's who we are. You see, this man was cutting himself in the tombs, right? And we recognize that that was his way of trying to be released from the torment of the spirit. As you go through your walk, there will be times in your life when the enemy will try to torment your mind. And you will be seeking those opportunities to be set free. But see, this is why the church has to come to a clear understanding of who it is and who he represents and who we represent. See, we represent the authority and power of the kingdom of God. The power to set people free from the things that bind them, that religion cannot do. And so as Jesus is approaching the tomb, the power of God moves before him. When you move into your circles of influence, when you show up, whether you realize it or not, air goes over the place of the influence of God. Where this man was under the control of the demonic spirits, that whenever people would come into his presence, he would go out to harass them. But now, because Jesus is coming in all kingdom authority, that spirit's power is subdued for a moment. You know what I'm talking about. You've been told that this certain child or this certain person acts such and such a way, and nobody can do nothing with it. Only to be brought in your presence, and you can't find that individual. Anybody know what I'm talking about? The law, they're about to go to jail. They're about to get put out of school. Can't nobody do anything with them. But somehow, when they come into your presence, they seem to be different people. That's because the power of God that lives inside of you has now come into your circle of influence, and that whole influence goes over your environment, and it subdues the authority of that spirit, that demonic spirit that's at work. So much so that the man was free. He saw Jesus. He was now free for a moment to break free and go out and worship Jesus, letting the whole world know, including Satan, that's who my God is. That's who my Savior is. That's who I want to serve. So he came out of the tomb. He had a moment to break free, to come to his right mind. I see help in the horizon. So he said he came out and he ran and he fell down and worshiped Jesus. That's the power that you possess as a child of God. That's why when you're being put into these environments now, you're seeing those demonic spirits that work in your environment. You are now seeing them subdued. You're seeing yourself now having power and influence yourself to bring about change in your environment. See, that's why we don't have to be afraid of demonic spirits, because they understand how it works. The key is, do we understand? Do you understand the power that you wield, that when you just show up, that bright light shines? And the demonic spirits must submit if you know what time it is. Because you see how he responded to Jesus? When he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him. And he cried out with a loud voice and said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you, by God, that you do not torment me." See, Jesus has shown up. The man has been free to run before Jesus and worship him. But the spirit now, because he's in front of Jesus, realizes that he might be in trouble. And he reminds Jesus of the rules of the game. Hey, it ain't time yet? Hey, what you want? Because it's not time yet. Because they know the rules of the game. They know how it's played. And they know what the responsibility is of all of those that operate in that system. You see, now the demonic spirit recognizes that his master is now on the scene. And now he is afraid. You see, isn't it amazing how the demonic spirits work? You've been tormenting this man, I don't know for how long. You've been tormenting him, right? And what's the first thing that comes out of his mouth to Jesus? Don't torment. You come to torment me? You come to torment me? It ain't time yet. It's not time yet. You see, this reminds me of the promise that Jesus made to the children of Israel when he was sending them out into the promised land. He said, "Look, don't worry. I know there's great people that live in the country greater than you. But I'm sending my spirit out ahead of you. And I'm going to defeat them." He says, I'm sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place I have prepared. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. Do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion, since my name is in him. If you listen carefully to what he says and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies and will oppose those who oppose you. My angel will go ahead of you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, and Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Do not bow down before their gods, worship them, or follow their practices. You must demolish them and break their sacred stones to pieces. Worship the Lord your God, and his blessings will be on your food and water. I will take away sickness from among you, and none will miscarry or be barren in your land. I will give you a full lifespan. I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation you encounter. I will make all your enemies turn their backs and run. I will send the hornet ahead of you to drive the Hivites, Canaanites, and Hittites out of your way. But I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land will become desolate and the wild animals too numerous for you. Little by little I will drive them out before you until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. That's Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 through 30. You see what he says? Jesus said, God told him, "Look, I'm going to send my spirit ahead of you. I'm going to defeat your enemies before you get there." You have to understand that children of God, who accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, the Holy Spirit lives inside of you. But a part of the system, God sends his spirit before you. That's why you have these people that's supposed to be so bad willing to sit down and share their life story with you. They're willing to listen to you and do what's right with you. Isn't it amazing that when you operate in the kingdom authority, those that have been trying to bind that spirit and bring that spirit into submission are amazed when they see that person in your presence? See, that's what you have to recognize. It's blowing their mind. They were like, wait a minute, that can't be him. How you get him to do that? Amen. Even the parents would be like, what you do? Yeah. I just showed them love and respect. Yeah. Told them what was expected of them. Explained to them what the consequences were. And gave them total freedom to do it or not to do it. Well, I just can't believe it. See, they don't understand the power that we operate in. That's why we don't have to fight. That's why we don't have to fuss. That's why we don't have to be frustrated. Because we have power. It brings the kingdom into submission. The kingdom of darkness. And that's why we have to understand this first principle when we look at verse 6 and 7. You see, the demonic spirit recognized what was going on. See, you have to understand the demonic spirits, this is the principle. Demonic spirits operate under God's guideline. Demonic spirits have to operate under God's guidelines. Satan just can't run off and do what he want to do just because he think he's grown. Isn't it amazing that grown folks think they can? Not just grown folks, people in general. Actually believe that they can just run off and do what they think they're big enough to do. Not even the spirit realm is that foolish. Satan is not that foolish. I want to look at Job chapter 1 verses 6 through 12 because we can get a clear understanding of how this system works. Job chapter 1 verses 6 through 12. It says, one day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is a blameless and upright man who fears God and shuns evil. Does Job fear God for nothing? Satan replied, have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now, stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, very well. Everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger. You see that? Satan just strolled into heaven, just like the angels. And God asked him, see, Satan would ask about Job, didn't he? What did God ask? Wait a minute, Satan. Hey, you know what I do? I roam to and fro through the earth, my kingdom. I'm roaming my kingdom. I'm roaming my kingdom day and night. That's his God-given right. You can't take it away from him. This is God-given right. He has the right to roam. You cannot tell Satan to leave your world and leave you alone. You don't have that authority. I have the authority to resist him, but I don't have the authority to say, look, don't you mess with nobody I know no more. He's one of God's tools to test you. But he has to get God's permission. That's why the demons told Jesus, wait a minute, I know the schedule. We don't get tormented until after it's all over. We ain't even got started yet. So you can't be, in other words, what he's telling Jesus, you don't have the authority to torment me yet. Isn't that something? Now, how many people talk about stomping on Satan's head and doing this and that to Satan? That's called foolishness. You do not know the rules of the game. It ain't time yet. Hey, look, this is what he's telling Jesus. It ain't nothing you can do to me yet. I have total freedom to do what I do. Total freedom. You can't stop. Now, you can prevent me from staying in here because this man has came down to worship you. You have the right to tell me to leave him, and that's it. That's all you got. Because I have the freedom and the right by God to roam this earth to see whoever I can influence. And guess what? When I come out of here, guess what? I'm coming back to check it. Those are the rules of the game. That's what we must understand. So this first principle, as I said, demonic spirits operate under God's guidelines. Job 1:6-12 showed us that. Where he comes before the king to get permission to do what it is he does. See, they have to act within God's limits and guidelines. Also, what did God tell them? Yeah, you can take everything he got, but you can't touch his body. Because we know the whole story. Satan comes back after that, doesn't he? Okay, he didn't curse you because I took everything from him. But let me touch his body. He said, yeah, you can touch his body, but you can't kill him. Now, do you think Job had any idea that conversation was going on? Now, don't that seem so unfair? You getting ready to get thrown in a fight, and everybody let you know a fight coming. You don't even understand what's happening. But if you understand and know God, you're clear about everything that's going on in your life. Are you getting what I'm saying? See, and that's what the Lord wants us to understand as we look at this demonic spirit. We see all the power that it has. When Jesus shows up, things change, don't they? When you show up, things are supposed to change. For the good, not for the worse. How many of you things are changing when you show up for the good? Or do you excite the party and take it to another level of madness? You know what I'm talking about. You can come in with your bottle of oil. Hey, bring him here. Bring Jimmy here. Going to another level. Because you actually think there's some power in this. And you actually think you can wield some power that you don't even respect. We know what we call people like that in our system, right? We call them crooked cops. Who do not respect the system and their authority. And try to use it for their own benefit. That's what the people are sick of when it comes to the church. They're sick of people like me trying to seduce you and make you follow me in my way. They're sick of people like me trying to make you serve us, to make us special. People are sick of that. Because after doing all that, they found their life doesn't change for the better, it gets worse. And they're tired. And I can understand everything that I hear them say about us. That's why we're learning how to walk in kingdom authority so we can be the true representative that God has called us to be. You have to understand that until Jesus returns, we have complete authority over the kingdom of darkness and over everything that God has created. You have to know these things, not wonder. But you also have to walk in that authority. Because if you're going to carry out the law, enforce the law, shouldn't you be the first one to obey it? And that's where our problem lies. We're trying to enforce something we won't obey ourselves, and it's made us powerless. That's why we operate the way we operate here at Dayspring Christian Church. It's for the power. It's to be able to walk into demonic situations and bring about peace. To allow the captives to be set free because we understand the rules of the game. In verses 11 and 12 it says, now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountain. So all the demons begged him, saying, send us to the swine that we may enter them. What an interesting request. So all the demons begged him, saying, send us to the swine that we may enter them. Hey. This situation would suggest that God's concern is with the souls of men and not animals. Animal activists would have a problem with this one. Jesus not only allowed the demons to go into the swine, but also allowed them to be destroyed, to destroy them. Now think about this. The demons begged to go into the swine. Wonder why. See, they don't never stop working. Every situation is another opportunity to carry out their deed. Because they only come to kill, steal, and destroy. Any conversation that you have with your fallen nature, trust me, ain't no good coming from it. It's still working. It can take any situation, like they tell us. They can take any lemon that they've been given, and they can make lemonade. And it'll make perfect sense to you going to the swine. Hey, you got to think that thing through. I mean, you think they were looking for a place to stay, right? The minute they go into the swine, what they do? They kill them. Do you think the spirit died? What was the point? Somebody owned them swine. And they said about 2,000 of them. That's a lot of sausage, ham, bacon, pigtails, and chutney. I'm sure somebody's going to be happy, don't you think? But he's always working. Because you notice when Jesus would go into a region, he performed miracles, but it would be miracles that would bless most of the people. Now he's got a new situation. He doesn't have the authority to tell the spirits to leave and just go on about their business. What did Satan say? Hey, let me touch your stuff. He'll curse you. Hey, let's go to those swine right there. You got to send us somewhere because you can't send us to hell. We have every right to roam. I have every right to possess whatever I can possess because it's all mine, you know. He gave him permission. Next thing you know, that's a stampede. Running off the cliff. A waste of meat. See, what you have to understand about demonic spirits, they are assigned to places where they have influence and power. Guess where they don't want to leave? Where they have it. It's working. Why am I leaving? This is a good place to stay out. See, because this suggests that they did not want to leave the region. Now, after these swines die, guess what's going on? They're looking for somewhere to go. Because they have influence in this area. And we're going to see their influence in the area. See, this next principle about demonic spirits. They have areas of influence. They have areas of influence. See, they have a great influence in Warren County. Where there's legions upon legions that operate here. But greater is he that is in us than any legion that Satan has put together. We put to flight thousands. Luke 11:24-26 says, when an impure spirit comes out of a person, it goes through arid places seeking rest and does not find it. Then it says, I will return to the home I left. When it arrives, it finds the house swept clean and put in order. Then it goes and takes 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there, and the final condition of that person is worse than the first. See, they know the rules of the game gives them all rights to come back to this man, to move back in. That's their God-given right. There's nothing you can do about it other than fill the house. You must give it a new occupant, which is Jesus Christ. That's why you can't play church. That's why you can't play religion. Because you just can't make Jesus go in and everywhere. He only goes to those places where he's been invited. And when the man came to worship Jesus, it showed that he wanted Jesus to come live into his life, move into his life. Because Jesus told the man to go back home, didn't he? And tell him what good things have been done for you. So guess what's going to happen when the spirits go back into that dwelling? No vacancy. They're going to go somewhere if they choose to. Because that's their God-given right. You see, and in all of our lives, since the day we were born, Satan has worked in our lives to create patterns and attitudes of influence. You have to understand this. That's why people find it impossible, just say no to drugs. Don't that sound so simple? No, they went on it was a time in our school that's what they taught, as if they thought it was going to have some kind of power to stop somebody from doing drugs. Have the drug use decreased or increased? Increased. See, it takes more than just words. It takes more than words to say I'm a child of God. You got to have some power because Satan going to come and check you. What did he tell Peter? What did Jesus tell Peter? Satan has demanded, he didn't ask. Satan came to heaven and said, look, I demand the opportunity to sift every one of them, to test them because I believe they're liars. And I demand my right to do it. That's what you have to understand. Once you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, Satan can demand the opportunity to test your faith. And then what Jesus said? Even though you love God, but for this it's been deemed necessary to have your faith tested. Why was it necessary? Because you have been accused as a liar. And you have stood and testified that this is who you are, and this is what you're about. You must be tested in it. What have you said you want to do? You say you want to stop, you want to lose some weight? Oh, you think it's going to be that easy? You think Jenny Craig and all these people you think that's going to help you? There's a spirit inside you that says, look, I don't care who you bring in. It ain't one power over me. And if you ain't using Jesus to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, you are a victim waiting to happen. Satan didn't even let you be victorious to make you think you got it. Only to come back when you at your strongest so you think and bring you to your knees. With a smile on your face. Yes, I was reading on Facebook the other day, somebody was like, well, my diet is out the window. It's been long and it's hard, but I'm done. They meant well. They thought, I remember them talking about doing it several months back. But see, without no power, you're only good for a short stretch. Man, at the end of that stretch, you worse off than you were because now you are boldly walking around with your chocolate cake and ice cream. You ain't got no bowl, you got the box. Waiting for somebody to say something to you. I'm grown. Eat as much as I want. See, that's that defeated spirit. The enemy has snuck in with that influence that has brought you to a place where you're not even ashamed no more how flipped up you are. You are in defense now because you're grown. And see, and it's through these places that they have gained access that we must be aware. That's why we must look at our families and see these generational curses. What has your family been plagued with? What has your family been plagued with? See, that's that influence I'm talking about. See, mine was drugs, alcohol, women, and laziness and worthlessness. Men was just worthless in my family. A lot of them died young. I mean, alcoholism, 32. Heart attacks, 40, 45. You know. Worthless. The women, if it weren't for the women, the family would fall apart. Anybody like that? So I made a pact with God. The foolishness stops here. I'm going to end this spirit in my family here. Because you could see the influences and look, and they were powerful. People that had great potential left here early, ineffective, not able to accomplish anything. You have to decide in your life, does the madness stop here, or do I continue to allow it to go on? In verse 13, we're told that the demons entered the 2,000 swine and drove them off a cliff and destroyed them. Like I said, you can imagine the financial cost of those that own those 2,000 pigs. You ever try to buy a pig? You got 2,000. That means that's some jobs involved, wasn't it? Usually when Jesus went and said, like, he performed miracles that impacted everybody for good. Now he's performed a miracle that's going to impact the community, but in a negative way. See, because Satan is always working. He can find a way to do what you do and make a mess of it in the minds of the people that are watching. Kind of like what's going on here, right? Aren't you all some bad people? Y'all don't believe in cursing no more. You don't believe in lying and cheating. You don't believe in cheating on your taxes anymore. You don't believe in letting people give you extra when they don't in a position, you know, give you something, you go to a restaurant, they want to give you free food. You're like, oh no. Yeah. People in line looking at you like, are you out your mind? That's a blessing from God. Or you go to the grocery store somewhere, they give you back too much change, you done got outside, got in the car, you come running back and like, hey, wait a minute, you gave me back, and people in line like, look, you gave me too much credit back. People like, I'm trying to get out of here, you got extra. Now that don't make no kind of sense right there. Then the teller or whoever there's trying to tell you to go, you're like, it ain't yours to do that. They be like, yeah. See, people don't like you when you do stuff like that. That's true. Because now that means, because they've gotten that extra money. And they said, they went to church and said, I was blessed by God yesterday. Mm-hmm. And have $20 in my pocket. Went to the store and spent $19. I left the store with $39. Isn't God a blessing? Isn't God good? That's being done. And they call it a blessing. You walking behind me and I'm running my mouth, hands in my pocket, I drop a $20 bill, and you walking behind me, stick your foot on it and wait till I'm gone. And you go back, man, I tell you, boy, ain't God good? I was broke as a villain, didn't know how I was going to make it. Just walking down the street and picked up $20, but you didn't tell him you saw the man that dropped it. You see, that's foolishness. That's not what we do. We say, hey, ho, you dropped this. Some of us in the learning process have went out in the parking lot and found $20. What do I do with it? Put it in your pocket. Oh, you want to go back inside now? So you don't have to take that one back inside. That's called finders keepers. Are you understanding what I'm saying? But it's all a growing process. I walked out in the parking lot, I just saw $20. Do I take it back inside and give it to somebody? What do you think they're going to do with it? Now you're going to cause them to sin. Yeah. And they're going to sell a lie and say, oh, I'm going to go try to find out who dropped $20 in the parking lot. Guess who dropped it? Me. You see? I call that an unfortunate blessing. But gladly received. Are you hearing me? See, this is what God is trying to teach us. See, we have influence over the demonic realm. And we have an operating power that we operate in. Now, through this miracle, Jesus becomes the center of attention. He becomes the center of attention. And guess what they're not talking about? They're not talking about what's been plaguing them for I don't know how long. Yeah. The man's been... But that's why you ask yourself, when the demonic spirit is having a conversation, you got to know he wants something. Yeah, that's it. I don't even bother to talk to him. Yeah. We try to get to that place. Look, let me speak to Curtis. I don't want to talk to him because I know ain't no... Listen, it doesn't matter how much stuff. Didn't that make good sense? Okay, he ain't asking to go into other people. He's talking about going into the swine, and we know what's going to happen to them eventually. They're going to get chopped up and ate up. I might not be the one who want to eat one, but hey, that's what's going to happen, right? Well, that sounds like a good trade-off. A pig for a person. I mean, when we think that was a good trade-off? Well, see, Satan understands the fallen nature. He understands that everything happens for a reason. So he plans and he schemes. Because look, why didn't he just say, just let us float around and find our own next habitat? Why couldn't he say that? Because they're going to kill the pigs immediately anyway. They're going to be without a body anyway. Why do we have to go to this quick little thing right here? Because I'm still working. See, you here. We don't need you here. This where we work here. This is my place. my realm of domain. And I know what you do when you come into places. You won't take over. So we got to get rid of you. See that? Got to get rid of you. That was what this was all about. Hey, we can't keep him here. We ain't going nowhere, but we can't keep him here. But we can't make him leave. But he must follow the requests of the people. See, you got to understand. That's why I told you the other night, if you ask me to leave, I got to quietly leave. Doesn't matter who started this thing, it's what do the people say. So when he comes they go into the swine, which brings us to our next principle. We talk about the demonic spirits. They never have good intentions. No matter how much sense it makes, there are no good intentions intended in that conversation. Remember, you're just a victim. You don't have a clue what the outcome going to be. Just know this. Can't no good come from it, so why have the conversation? See, that's my philosophy. I know Satan can give a good argument, but why listen to it? Because I know the outcome. Can't nothing good come from him. Look, you mad at me, right? You operate in the flesh, and you want to talk to me. I know it's not time. Best that I can do is just listen. Okay. Because at the end of those discourses, then they look at you. You ain't got nothing to say? What? I mean, I understand though that as soon as I open my mouth, I lose. Yeah. My greatest power is to have the authority over you.
Yeah, that's it.
Not to listen to, not to give you what you want. Mm-hmm. You hit me with a rock for a reason. Why am I going to respond? Yeah. You have more struggle with me not responding than me responding.
Yeah, that's
Don't you think?
Yeah, that's it.
Don't you get a little shaky?
Yeah.
When you did all sorts of stuff to somebody and they just look at you. Now you wonder what they thinking. What they planning. Say something. They rather for you to say something and curse them out than to be quiet. Because they know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
There's something about a quiet man, you just don't know where he's coming from.
Yeah.
That is a sign of concern. Come home late at night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you married, and your wife get up and cook breakfast for you. ain't cursed, ain't said nothing. Well, hey, honey, how you doing? You hungry? Let me fix you something to eat. I don't care who he is. Are you really hungry? She's mighty anxious to fix that meal for you. Human nature can't help it. It's suspicious. That's out of character. Looks like you might want me to. You want me to eat that. You eat some first. But see, that's what we have to understand. Our greatest power over the demonic realm is to ignore it, to not give in to what it wants. But we also have to know we have to play within the realms and the guidelines of the game. Jesus has to play within the guidelines. They requested to go into the swine. They're yours. Go ahead. But now they got a plan. See, when the enemy calls you to come play with them, they got a plan. You got to know that. It doesn't matter how good they smile, how good they smell, how much they talk about God. They have a plan. Whether they know it or not, they have a plan. And Satan is waiting for the opportunity to execute it. It may not look like much at the time. 2 Peter 2, 17 through 29. But they have no good intentions. These people are springs without water and mist driven by a storm. Blackest darkness is reserved for them, for they mouth empty, boastful words, and by appealing to the lustful desires of the flesh, they entice people who are just escaping from those who live in error. They promise them freedom while they themselves are slaves of depravity, for people are slaves of whatever has mastered them. You see, as you are walking in your walk and what God is doing here, there's always going to be those calling you to come play with them. Why don't you come join us? We could use you. There's no good intentions there. Because that's not something God would do. You see, and they come with these great boasts, all these great accolades, and they give you praise, and they talk about how good and how effective you are for the Lord. And they'll tell you that they want you to be a part of their team. But trust me, there are no good intentions involved. No good intentions involved. You see, we have authority over the fallen man. We have authority over Satan and his demons. You have to understand what you have and what you represent. You have peace of mind. Don't you know chaotic people will want you in their world to keep them smiling? But eventually, if you fall for it, it's going to sap you. And you're going to be walking around and they're going to be happy and you're going to be tore up. We have to decide that we don't want to take the world's garbage with us. Their problems. I don't want to take responsibility for your problems. I don't need to know your business. I don't need to be a part of your world. Now, if you want to be a part of my world, there's a way that can happen. But there can be no compromise. See, they wanted to go into the swine. Because as we catch up on this next week, we're going to see that it has influence. They still are working their influence in the area. Where you see that people are going to come around, they're going to hear both stories, and they're only going to respond to one. And that's the one about the swine. So he asked them to leave.
Yeah. That's it, boy. I tell you what I do.
Leave. You're costing us too much money. I know you here want to do the right thing, but us doing the right thing to fix this problem, it's going to cost us too much money. Ain't that what the world do? They talking about cutting it. What are they cutting? Education. Your health. Go and die so we don't have to worry about you no more. That's what they cutting, right? We need to keep you ignorant, and we need you to hurry to die. Now, what should we be supporting? Education, health, things that are going to make this world a better place. We will cut the police department. Are you serious? The one that we have ain't working and it's inadequate, and you're going to cut it? And you tell us we can't buy guns. I know you want us to die there. See, you got to think, ain't no good intentions when the enemy's working. It don't make sense.
That's it. That's true.
And summer's about to come.
Summer. Yes, Lord. Yeah. Man.
No money, no air conditioning.
Yeah.
You know how people get when it gets hot.
Yeah, they cut up. Yeah.
But this is what they're saying is the answer. There is no good intentions behind Satan what he does. But thank God that we serve the true and living God. Thank God we can walk in authority where we can walk in and he knows who's. You better act like you know if you don't know. Just don't do a lot of talking.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's it.
You just know I'm in authority here. And pray that somebody comes to your rescue. But you don't want to be like the sons of Sceva. He put that in there for a reason. You know that, don't you? Because some folks will play church, act like they deliver, act like they know, and get caught out there where you have to show what you know. And it ain't much. Not enough. You know how to run. But see, you ain't got the wings of eagles, so you can't get tired. But you can't get tired if you run without the power of God. That's what we're going to stop off here today. But I really want you to understand from this lesson today is that, listen, you have influence that you need to recognize you have. That's why you can deal with these people that the world said can't nobody do nothing with and bring about peace, bring about change. You can make a difference in people's lives without the yelling and the screaming and the threatening. Just showing up. That's the power of God working in our lives. And that's what we need to remember. So we don't have to be afraid. We can boldly walk around and know that we are in charge for a purpose to make